Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all well. My name is Helen, and I'm one of the volunteers at the Paul and Stephen Spiritus Center. And today we will be chatting a little bit about how to overcome life challenges, which is really something very relevant to the moment. So before we start, we had previously before this, we had the same theme in Portuguese, and now we're going to start in English, so it's going to be the same theme. So let's relax in our wherever it is that we're seated, and we're going to connect to the higher forces of the universe, to all the mentors for the Paul and Stephen Spiritus Center. And you can keep your eyes open or closed, whatever is more comfortable to you. And we are going to ask the spirits and the guides to inspire us and to protect us. May we broaden our understanding, and may we take in the lessons that we discuss here today for our growth, to apply to our day-to-day, to contribute to ourselves and to others, and to help out in the community. We ask the mentors to stay with us and inspire our words and our thoughts. So be it. So, like I said, the theme is very relevant, and we're going to talk about how to overcome life challenges. And we're living in a very challenging moment for the entire globe at the moment, but this is actually applicable to even small challenges that we might have in our day-to-day lives. So for today's study, I used 3 books mainly. So I used the Spirit's book, and I used the Gospel as explained by Spiritism, which is the Gospel according to Spiritism. Mine is in Portuguese, but it is the Gospel. And I'm just going to explain what these 2 books are, because maybe the public who are listening in English, they might not have an understanding, such as people who watched the previous talk. So the Spirit's book, it was published in 1857 by a French educator who adopted the pen name Allan Kardec. I know it's switched, but it's Allan Kardec. And he adopted this name because the book wasn't written by him. The book was actually a collection of answers to questions that he and a group that he worked with developed. And in 1857, the only way to communicate with people around the world, we have to agree, was via mail or messenger, or like physical messenger, not messenger. So what Kardec and his group did, they collected a series, they wrote a series of philosophical questions that people had been asking for ages, and send these messages around the world to the mediums, because there were psychic phenomena occurring in all around the world, and he sent it to the mediums, and they answered these questions. So what he did, he collected all the questions and answers, and he compiled it and put it in a book, and this is this book, the Spirit's book, which is the basis on which the Spiritist philosophy sits. I highly recommend not only to read the book, but to study, because it's questions and answers. It's worth studying. Not everyone likes questions and answers. So I highly recommend. And the Gospel according to Spiritism is what Kardec got the teachings that the Christ brought, and he explained in the light of the Spiritist philosophy. So there's really, really interesting insights. I'm also going to quote this little book here, which I love. Because since we're talking about overcoming suffering, Viktor Frankl, he was a survivor of the concentration camps in the Second World War, and he was a psychologist. And what he did was as a psychologist, he observed people's behavior in those extreme situations. And he came up with some insights that we can find in the Spirit's book that was written 100 years before, that the Spirits answered. Okay, so just reminding you that the Spirit's book, questions developed by Kardec and the team, and the answers are actually a collection of answers that the Spirits gave and the ones that were similar or the same. All right, so what is it that makes some people, when they face challenge, they shine and thrive? That was a question that Viktor Frankl found, that in that really, really extreme situation of a concentration camp, he noticed that some people, despite everything that they were going through, that brought out their best. So they were kind, and they were focused on assisting the ones that were less fortunate than them, that were already very unfortunate. And they would share. They only had one bread to eat, and they would go and share with the ones that were sick. Whereas in the counterpart, there were people that just closed in themselves, and they showed more the negative aspects of their personality. So what is it that makes the human being act in a certain way, and other human beings under the same circumstance act in a completely different way? That's what we're going to try to talk about, and maybe put ourselves in the group that shine our light and do our best in whatever situation, and including the situation we're going through. So we're going to see everything in light of the Spiritist teaching, because the Spirit philosophy is actually a guide to ethical living. So it offers you everything that we study, offers you the possibility to become the best version of yourself that you can possibly be in this lifetime. And if we look at that, we're going to see that we have the opportunity to grow, to develop, and to contribute to all around us. So there are some topics that we're going to cover, because what we believe about life and about why we're here actually influence the way we deal with problems, the way we see problems, the way we answer to problems, the way we react to problems. And the questions that Kardec asked the spirits, and that are in the basics, the basic books of Spiritism, they actually cover where we came from, why we're here. Is there a purpose to life? What happens to us after we die? Does what we do here in this life influence in what happens to us after we die? Is this it? So this is kind of what we're going to be talking about, and hopefully this will influence and contribute to our growth and to dealing with challenges. So one of the first things that Kardec asked, and which is a question that we should all kind of get an understanding of, is there a creator? So people who believe that there is a creator, that we came from somewhere and we're going somewhere, they can deal with problems much better than maybe a person who doesn't believe in anything. If you think that we are in a ship and the ship doesn't have a captain, you don't know what kind of waters you're going to face, that's a bit challenging, because everything is happening to you. You have no control over that. Whereas if you know that the ship not only has a captain who is very knowledgeable, but this captain also is the one who created the ship, whoever's in the ship, the seas, the wind. So everything is not under our control, but it's under a higher control. So the first thing that we can kind of support ourselves on is that there is a loving supreme intelligence, which is the first cause of all things. And the universe is created and based on love and truth and kindness and beauty and harmony. And that's where we all came from. The second thing, which is really, really important, and we take it for granted, all of us that are studying the Spiritist philosophy, is that we are eternal. For us, that's a given. Like we already think that. So we existed prior to our life here. And we are going to survive the death of our bodies. So this is just a physical existence. This is not our real life. Our real life is our spiritual life. So we are spirits. We are not the bodies. We don't have a spirit. We are the spirit. We have a body. And we will survive this life. I used to say this to my son when he was younger, and I say this once in a while, that life is like the ultimate virtual reality game. So the avatar in the virtual reality game, so he could understand, like the avatar was there fighting and doing whatever, and that avatar would die. But he wouldn't die. He would continue, and he could change and use another avatar and continue his learning. Obviously, that we're not here to learn how to fight or get prizes, but we are here to learn how to become better human beings and to become the best that we can be. So if we know that we're eternal and the physical body and the physical death is not the end of our lives, that makes it a whole lot different and makes it much easier to go through the life challenges. There's another thing, so similar, because Orlando was talking earlier, and he had 4 points, and coincidentally I have 4 points too. Not the same, different. So there are 4 points. So the first is that there is a loving, supreme intelligence that created everything. And this is where, like, we're guided, we're protected by this. And the second thing, that we're eternal. And these are part of what we study in the Spiritist philosophy. The other thing is actually in the realm of psychology, and that is that we as human beings, we have to learn that there are things that are under our control. So we have a few things that are under our control, each one of us, and there are things that are out of our control. We only have possibility to control what is in our control. So if we're trying to deal with things that are out of our control, we get stressed, overwhelmed. Why? Because we can't control them. We can influence them, which is interesting, but we cannot control it. So there's these 2 realms, things that we can control, things that we cannot control. And we're going to go back to that. So one is the presence of this loving supreme intelligence. We have a life that's eternal. We're eternal beings. The third thing is that there are things while we're here that are under our control and things that are not under our control. The third thing is that there are laws that are eternal laws that's applicable to everyone. We might know them or we might not know them, but nonetheless, we are subject to these laws. That's very important to know. So even though if I didn't know about the law of gravity, doesn't matter. If I get this book and I let go, it's going to fall. Why? Because the law of gravity is a natural law. So there are natural laws linked to our morals. And whether we know it or not, and we might be learning it, they're still applicable to us. And one of these laws is called the law of progress. And that's something that the spirits told Kardec. That everything in the universe is subject to the law of progress. And what does that mean? That everything is becoming the best version. So our bodies are improving, our physical bodies. If you look back when we were prehistoric beings, our bodies weren't like this right now. Our intelligence, but not only that, our consciousness that I'm going to call spirit. So our spirit, the planet is evolving. The universe as a whole is growing and developing, and we are subject to that law. Now you may ask, what does all that have to do with us going through challenges and suffering? So if we look back at the circle of control, if we work on what we can control, what we can do within our circle of influence, and we do our best, and we allow ourselves, very important this, we allow ourselves to become who we need to become to deal with the problems that we have to deal. Some people don't do that. A problem comes, they think that they have to know how to deal with that. If they don't know, they panic. So if you allow yourself, give yourself permission to learn the skills that you have to learn to deal with that problem that's coming your way. Be patient, persistent. Have faith that you're being supported by other beings. If you do all that, then everything that's out of your control, you have to use faith. Because whatever is out of our control is not out of God's control. It's just out of our control. Everything has a plan. So if you believe that everything has a plan, things aren't happening to the planet by chance. It's not by chance. The planet didn't happen by chance. Some people say that this was the result of an explosion. Like there was an explosion and then all of a sudden intelligent beings were created. So I'm going to quote Benjamin Franklin. He said that the probability of the universe being the intelligent beings created out of a random chance was the same as a print back in the days, Benjamin Franklin, that they had all these little letters that they had to put, explode, and form a dictionary. That's like if you don't think that a press is going to explode and form a dictionary, it's really literally almost impossible to believe that from some random explosion, all this, if you look at life, if you look at when the babies form, and I know that we have several mommies to be, and you see that miracle of the little baby from one cell becoming maybe one or two babies from the cell. So it's impossible not to believe that things are under a higher plan. So if we understand that everything is governed by a higher intelligence, a higher form of being that is loving and that only wants our best, and to the eyes of this loving presence, like Wayne Dyer says, there are no favorites. So you, all you watching, you're all favorites because there are no favorites to the eyes of this loving presence. So whatever it is that's happening to us outside of our control, outside of our circle, we have to have the faith that it's happening as it should be happening. It's not happening by chance. It's happening because that's the way it would be happening. And it's subject to laws we might not understand. Like a family that takes a baby to a hospital. And it might be that there's some interventions that have to be done with that baby. And these interventions might be painful. And the baby won't understand. The baby would think in their little heads, why is my family doing this to me? Don't they love me? Whereas the family, they know that if they don't do that to that little baby wouldn't survive. So from a higher perspective, whatever's happening to our lives, and I can expand that to what's happening globally, is not happening by chance. It's happening because there's a plan. It's happening because that's what it was supposed to do. And that's where the law of progress might come into place. Everything progresses. And in order to progress, there are different pathways to progress. But when we don't progress, when we are very comfortable in our comfort zones, and everything is very settled, and we're very happy right there, and we're not growing, sometimes the law of progress will give us a little nudge. Will push us out of our comfort zone. And when we are out of our comfort zone, and being out of the comfort zone is where we really grow. We don't actually grow in our comfort zone. We grow out of our comfort zone. So when we're out of our comfort zone, that's where the real growth comes. So sometimes progress, the law of progress pushes us out of our comfort zone. That's where growth happens. And here in the Spirit's book, there's a question. It's almost similar to the one that was read before, but it's a different one. It talks about natural calamities. So I'm going to put this as a natural calamity, but you can adjust to if it's a smaller problem. So what's the purpose of providence in allowing major national or natural calamities to occur? Why do these terrible things occur to people around the world and massive? And the spirits responded. They bring about transformation that will speed along your progress. And if we look at another one, which was the one that was talked about before, where they ask, aren't these challenges or calamities also moral trials for us, forcing us to strive harder and get what we need? So aren't these challenges actually asking us to transcend ourselves, go beyond what we're doing and grow? And what the spirits answered were, yes. Calamities are trials that are given to you as an opportunity to exercise your intelligence, to demonstrate your patience and resignation to higher levels. All the same time, they give you chance to grow in abnegation, selflessness, and love for others. So if we look at what's happening around the world right now, we can see that people are being challenged in different ways, and they are looking for ways to strive. They're looking for ways to grow. They're looking for ways to survive. And nothing that comes our way is ever something that we cannot handle. That's very important as well as a belief. If you know for sure that whatever comes your way, it's because you're ready to deal with that, that makes a whole lot of difference in overcoming whatever is coming your way. So I'm going to read here. I think we're almost time to finish. So I'm going to read something. So like I said, Viktor Frankl, he was in the concentration camp. And as a psychologist, people would come to him and expect him to have answers because he knew about human behavior. And he knew. So it was very frustrating for him. So people who were priests, who were pastors, who were psychologists, who were doctors, people would come to them expecting them to have answers. And in the midst of that, he had an insight that I'm going to read. There's one page in this book. I'm not going to tell which page it is, or else people are just going to go to that specific page. But there's one page here that if you read, it says exactly how to deal and how to overcome a situation. So I'm going to ask permission to read, so I'll quote correctly. So people were asking them, what's the purpose? Like, I can't see any purpose to this. I don't know what the meaning of this is. What should I expect? And he said that at some point he didn't know what to answer, but he looked inside himself and he observed people that were actually transcending their suffering to help others and to become better human beings and showing their best. And he said that it did not really matter what we expected from life, but rather what life expected from us. So he started asking the question, what is it at this moment in my life that my life is expecting from me? Who do I have to be in this moment to answer the questions that are given to me or to deal with the situation? And he continues further down. Life ultimately means taking responsibility to find the right answer to its problems and to fulfill the tasks which it continuously sets for each individual. So based on that, and I'm going to link it with this. Let me just see if I can find it right here. If I can't, let me just see if I can find it. And linked with what the Spirit says, that in terms of calamity, that we're here to grow and to go beyond what we're doing at the moment, to transcend whatever it is that we have on, who we are, become the best version of ourselves to be able to answer whatever it is that's coming our way. And you can see that. That's happening right now. That's happening to people around the world. They're having to step out, step back, look look into themselves and find, who do I have to be? What do I have to change in myself? How can I become a better person to actually respond to this in a better way? So to all of you who are watching, I really hope, and I'm just going to gather all that we talked about, that if you do within what's under your control, your very, very best, you use the best tools that you have, you allow yourself time to become the person you need to become to deal with that problem. Like Viktor Frankl said, life is going to present you, each individual, each one of us, with different challenges. And if we can do our best in what's in our control, and have the faith and the certainty that all the rest, the providence will take care, this loving intelligence will take care, then that's how we overcome the challenges that life might present us, is doing our best where we can and having faith that all the rest, the providence will take care of. Okay? So I think it's time now to finish. And so normally we finish, we're going to vibrate love and harmony and unite ourselves, although we're separate physically. We're going to unite ourselves in thought. And we're going to imagine and feel love and harmony in our bodies. And we're going to imagine that from our hearts, this beautiful light of love and harmony goes out and gathers and forms this beautiful energy that involves each and every one of us and expands to our neighbors, expands to our neighborhood, to our cities. And this love and harmony involves our country, all the countries around the world. And we ask the higher spirits to use this love and harmony to those who are most suffering around the world. May they receive peace in their hearts and in their minds. May this ease their suffering and their understanding. May this bring peace. And may this help all of us overcome all our life challenges. And finally, we feel this love and harmony coming back to us. And may we be a little point of light and touch people's lives during the week to come. So be it. Thank you. So next week, to finalize, next week we're going to have the same thing. So we're going to have the Portuguese lecture, and then we have the passes, the fluidotherapy, and then we have the English studies as well. So I hope you all have a wonderful week, a wonderful weekend and week ahead, and stay safe. Thank you very much.